Good morning and welcome to the Dev Days 2026 to the topic Architect's Arsenal plug and play templates for workflows, transforms, rules. So I'm Harshameen, engineering manager down here at SailPoint. I'll be bringing these templates out for you, which are good to have, best case scenario. You kind of plug and play straight the entire template onto your day-to-day business. So if you're sitting in the stream today, you are those engineers, the developers, the system designers, architects who are responsible for translating high-level customized requirements from customers into the IGA product of SailPoint. So you are the engine of the identity governance. This is a masterclass of your development efficiency. So today we are going to dive into the powerful extensibility features of what you can do beyond SailPoint with the tools which are readily available, like the transforms, the workflows, the rules. So we'll explore some pre-built, categorized things like whatever you can do specialized with rules, something which you can fulfill with transforms, which you don't need rules for, and the things which you can provide out into your workflows. So uh, it can help you solve your different challenges down the day, every day, while deploying or creating it for the customer's requirement. Well, go to the agenda for the day. So for the agenda for the day would be the power of extensibility. What is it? What is the problem we are solving? We'll talk about that. The big three, the transforms, rules, and workflows, the common use cases and the umbrella topics, the deep dive, the identity management, which is your transforms, the lifecycle management, which is your workflows, the governance and access control, which can be rules as well as a combination with workflows, and operational efficiency with workflows. So, well, again, and last will like best practices for your resilient automation. So, the problem, the groundhog day of your development. Does this feel similar to every one of you? Like you're scratching your head on behind your back, where like you have your screen, which has all those diagrams that this is what I need to do. This is the system configurations. This is what I need to translate into the SailPoint IGA tool. You're scratching your head. You're trying to get around how I can build it, if I need to build it from the scratch, if I can get some assistance, someone's what are the best practices, someone has it already, because what you are encountering today, it has been there for a while. Everyone would have encountered it, and why not standardize it? Why not templatize it, I would say. So every project you find yourselves building the same foundational components, a lever process, a username generator, a password generator, one thing or the other, it's eventually the same process every time, iterating over again and again and again with fine tunings. Again, that's something we can do with templates as well. Pick up the template, fine tune it, push it rather than inventing the wheel again and again, right? So the repetition slows you down, introduces inconsistencies, and isn't the most excited part of your job, right? It's better to find a way to resolve new problems daily rather than keep on doing the same stuff every now and then, maybe with some just tweaks, right? So today we are going to change it. So the big three we'll talk about. As developers, as architects, as builders, we live in a world of increasing complexities. The universe of identities we manage is expanding beyond humans to include an army of machines, services, agents, and maybe tomorrow something else. So the keyword agents also are one of the pain points in recent days. So how you usually deal with it. So let's quickly define our three key tools. The transforms. As you go to a quick data formatting, think of this as a inline data generators. They are something like manipulating, transforming, manipulating, and like you can say as customizing what you want downstream into your data set, maybe into your downstream application, maybe into ISC, based on which you are going to define your governance protocols. Then you have rules, are when like you are more powerful, most custom logic, especially for those critical provisioning processes, like ensuring your AD account gets a unique SAM account name, or maybe a unique email. You need to iterate it, something like this. And finally, the workflows. The workflows are your master conductors. They orchestrate the business process, often calling different APIs, maybe internally, maybe externally, triggering workflows via external triggers, assigning them or designing them in such a manner that they will start using or they'll start performing certain type of operations down the time. So you define it, it'll go step by step processes and deliver you whatever the level of customizations, whatever the extensibility you have been looking for. So helps you make those decisions, maybe into your approval workflows, it's there, maybe emergency terminations and whatnot. You can use workflows for a lot of like maybe even SDM integration. You need tickets out there. You can do it everywhere. So we'll first start with the identity data management and transformation. Here we'll be talking about the data that you deal with every day. Hope you can like how you can maintain it, control it, govern it. Eventually, how you want your data to look into for your governance operations, maybe into ISC, maybe something downstream, how you want it to be looking into. So the identity data management and transformation. So ensures data is clean, consistent, correctly formatted. Primary tool like you can use transforms here. For example, the common scenarios are generating your usernames, the email address, formatting your names, setting some default attributes which so that it does not add empty, conditional mappings, like determining an identity's lifecycle state. These are the types of scenarios where we usually recommend. So like what your transform should be utilized for. So how you gonna take into those transforms. So what we do is like today what we'll be covering is in your easy format, we'll be covering it into your maybe like simple transforms, like concate something, the first name, the last name, standardize it, maybe last name, comma, first name, something like this you need. Then in the medium, we'll take into like your UPN. You want to generate your unique user principal name. You want it in specific characters because maybe your downstream system doesn't allow some type of special characters. So how we'll gonna do that? So there will be a template, we'll define it, you can use it. For different downstream systems, you just have to define what type of data you are expecting downstream or which is allowing at the downstream so that when you are provisioning something, it doesn't fail. Because what happens, we have usually seen is things tend to fail. Your provisioning fails. We don't want that to happen. It's better that provisioning is already handling those scenarios rather than allowing provisioning to fail while you're testing or you are deploying something. And last, in the complex, we'll define or determine some lifecycle states, set the LCS based on those status or HR status, or maybe end date. And those are your certain foundational transforms. So we'll talk about different levels also. So let's see. Going next. So for easy, we just have one. For medium, we have one. But for complex, the LCS, which is the most common use case for your transforms, we have 1, 2, 3. Will keep on increasing the complexity from the most basic definition of how your LCS is supposed to be calculated to a bit complex scenario and the most complex scenario where like there are a lot of things which you need to take into account. Maybe some end date, 7 days, 14 days, 60 days after end date, soft delete, maybe deleting right now, maybe deleting after some time, their status, their different attributes, your classifications, based on which you decide how many days you want to keep it under soft delete rather than create totally taking it out of your system. So level 3 is going to be a lot more complex about it. Let's jump into the sampling. Okay, so here's your easy transform. So here we have like our standard robust template for generating your user display name. We would say, as I said, like people or some organizations have a standardized across their different platforms, like first name, last name, or last name, comma, first name, so that, or maybe first name dot last name, whatever the format can be. Okay, you just have to modify your things, and this template is pretty much usable. So logic is to build for a resilient first name, last name transform. It tells the system if I want to pick on preferred name or something like this. So here you are. So it'll gonna check for preferred name, then the legal name. You have something to concate, and then something to concate, and then your similarly your first name and the legal first name. So that is how you gonna do it for your easy transform. Now going next to your medium transform, this next template is a cornerstone of your identity management setup, such as your user generating your user principal name based on whatever the restrictions maybe your source system is imposing, your IT team has put in. It can vary from time to time. So the process is a three-step data sanitization pipeline. First, at very core, we concate the first name attribute and the last name with the period. So we'll go here. So here's your first name, last name, we'll concatenate it with a period, convert it to two lower. And then because there can be different diacritical marks or different regions your organization might be operating in, there are different characters which can be there, which your downstream system might accept, might not accept. So what you want is you want something to be identified in such a manner that there is no hyphens, something like this, which your end system is going to reject or your ID policy doesn't align with. So you want to define a regular expression under which it's going to screen that whatever the combination you have generated, does that fill under this regex or not? If it fills under the regex, it's going to populate it, it's going to give you the value and you take it downstream. But if it's not, you are not able to generate it, it removes it. So finally, here you can see like with this, especially with the Active Directory and Azure AD, this type of problems is something which we usually identify. This is pretty much your medium. In complex, now you look into like, let's say it's going to be the lifecycle state management for complex 1, 2, 3. Everything is going to be talking about lifecycle state management. So with this one, that is essentially mapping your contractors or temporary employees automatically. The goal is to answer one simple question that is today between the start date and the end date. So if it is, you need to keep it active. If not, you take it out. So to do this, we have created 2 Boolean flags, started before today and ended after today. So this tells you you're outside the window, the left or the right. Eventually, it's supposed to be either pre-hire or either terminated. Else you can have it both as inactive and single window as active. It is on you, how you define it. So we have done here, it's simple, get your date formatted, then the date math, is it today now, how? You can again change your expressions based on your requirements. Got your Boolean value, similarly for other one, based on end date, got the Boolean value. Again, here you can replace this identity attribute with an account attribute and get yourself satisfied with the same. Now, greater than, smaller than, and simple. So this is the most simple use case of your cloud lifecycle state transform. Most probably you want to use it with your non-employees where you don't have a pre-hire, you don't provision anything beforehand. You are going to be like, okay, I'm going to do it today. I'm going to take it away as soon as they leave the organization. So in these type of scenarios, you use the most simple transforms. So again, it's going to check true based on that. So I'm going to keep it active, else inactive. Every else other case, it's on other side of the window, it's closed. They are not supposed to have the access. We'll go to level 2. In level 2, this is the next template which demonstrates a bit advanced version of the one which we have currently. So in real world life cycle state calculation, it moves beyond your simple date logic, that okay, beyond Windows logic. So it is like you have pre-hires now, you have special exceptions, maybe different statuses are there. You calculate several variables first, based on that you plan to take the decision. So we first check, okay, someone is a future hire, are they under 14-day window? Then you grab their HR status. Then again, termination reasons, because if the termination reason or the deactivation reason is a LOA, you might be taking a different decision. Maybe LOA with something, maybe disability or something like this, you might be taking a different decision. So based on that, whatever the decision type can be, you define it and then you build over it. So first, we check if the pre-hires are under the 14-day window. Then we check if they're active or on leave based on the status. Then we can check for the special reason code if there is any, as I talked about, like the leave of absence or something like this. And only after all the active conditions, if does not fall under it, we make it as terminated or retired based on the status, maybe, if you want to take that into account. So it's going to be simple. We get the first date, we get the last date, done the calculation, check if it's under the 14-day window. So you want to keep it as a pre-hire type of thing. Then the second date, similarly, the employee status, the termination reason code, which you take into account, and then the termination status based on that. Now, so for retired or terminated, and then the last, the if else statement, which is going to help you decide what goes where, which status you want to follow into. Okay. Finally, this is our most advanced template. I'll just scroll down to give you a gist of the level of the complexity. This is the most advanced complex template out there for the transforms, which like we'll be doing LCS, but termination would be in a phased manner. Fine with this like phased lifecycle state, we orchestrate the entire journey from a pre-hire to soft delete to go what happens after 90 days, what happens after 30 days based on organizational policy. Because maybe let's say the organization for which you are developing, they have they have a restriction that if someone joins back in 90 days, that person is supposed to have a continuity of the service. So you're not supposed to revoke anything. Maybe from the present moment, they're supposed to have all those accesses. So that is something which you might encounter. So we take all those things like T plus 60, T plus 0 to T plus 6. Maybe after 7 days, what do you need to do? Maybe 6 to 30 days, what do you need to do? Maybe 30 to 90 days, what do you need to do? So based on that, we have defined everything based on all the calculations. Like, okay, is it plus 6 days? So technically, today plus 6 is like in a week, what do you need to do? In 30 days, what it's going to be? Is it 45 days? Is it like 90 to 89 days? So technically 90 days, whatever that scenario can be, you can define all those stuff, define those status, take all those things into calculations, and then eventually down the line, taking up and defining, okay, based on company code, if it's the person belongs to XYZ company code, I'm supposed to take maybe 7 and 60 as the consideration. Based on whatever the scenario can be, this template is pretty much going to solve everything out of that. So it takes all those decisions sequentially, compiles it down where it is taken the final decision, which lifecycle state does this guy fall under. So that's your templates for pretty much lifecycle states and your transforms. Now, going out with the lifecycle management, the JML. Here we'll talk about how you can use SailPoint to govern your JML process, not just with rules and all those stuff, with whatever the different extensibility or the customizable features you want. So the goal is to automate your identity process with your joiner, mover, leaver, rehire process. The primary tool which we are going to use here is going to be your workflows. So why is it a must have? Again, as we all know, security, the efficiency, the compliance, how does it going to be? And the sample we have for your JML is going to critically with workflows like how you do it, maybe emergency termination, you want to do unoptimized aggregations every now and then to get the data and all the stuff. So that's what we're going to look into. So for easy, you have a joiner welcome email. Then you have unoptimized aggregation where you want every time you have a delta aggregation, you want to stop it. Every weekend, you want to run a full aggregation on an automation so that something is not going to mess up. The data is up to date. Everything is in ISE. From medium, you want the automated mover process. Then you have emergency termination. In emergency termination, we'll be sharing you two templates. One is like an external trigger when your SIM team might identify that someone is a bad actor, you want them to be terminated, they trigger it, workflow gets triggered and the termination gets taken care of. But maybe you want like something to be a launcher based where some maybe an identity or maybe someone is your governor of your IAM tool. Those admins are going to take the decision that, okay, now I want to terminate this guy. So they're going to just click out simple 2 or 3 step form, feed whatever that want, sends an email or something like this. And last, it could be the triggered with an identity state active, the entire joiner process. Maybe a ticket needs to be created. Maybe you want to tell anyone with emails and all those stuff. That's what's going to be in the workflow. So with easy, we have your joiner and the unoptimized. Let's start with your templates. Okay, so here's your, so this looks to be complex, but again, these are just if else checks, yes, no, and then traversing. This is not that complex. Again, identity is created, wait for some time so that provisioning gets taken care of, get your identity accounts, verify if like, let's say SSO provider is assigned or not, maybe Okta or something like this. So if not, then stop it, not, and this is not going to proceed. If it's done, yes, then see if this person is supposed to have an email or not, then check if it is an employee account. If yes, then are they supposed to get an Active Directory? Maybe some roles or something that should be assigned based on that. If they have Active Directory roles assigned, if roles are assigned, is Active Directory provisioned? You want to check that and email the manager that it's success. On the other end, if it's a non-employee, verify if AD is needed or not. If AD is needed, yes, no, based on that, get the sponsor ID if you want to email the sponsor that, okay, your non-employee has been onboarded successfully with Okta AD and something, let's say Azure AD or Okta AD and some other application. Let's say email was supposed to be provisioned, it is successfully provisioned. So the sponsor identity, get it, check it, is the email required, and based on that, traverse it. Okay, whichever flow, whichever is our customized template, you put on those templates here, and based on that, it's gonna send your whatever the email type is. This is your first one, that is a joiner worker notification. Now the second is your, which we talked about, your delta aggregation. Most of our tenants have whichever the large data source, we run into delta aggregations and all the stuff. So we want them to have a full aggregation from time to time. This is again a template which was pretty much available down there. We are trying to consolidate everything into a single place. So disable it, check if the delta aggregation is done, trigger full aggregation. If the full aggregation is complete, or even if it's not completed, you can spread for a bit off. That's not going to cause any harm because whatever the aggregation was supposed to get triggered, it is already done. Wait for the aggregation if you want, enable delta aggregation, check if the delta aggregation is enabled, and stop. So this is a simple trigger based on schedule it over a weekend and you can have it. Then next, your department movers, someone's moving from one department to another. So with your automated mover, it is a perfect example of like how proactively identity governance can help. So someone is moving from one department to another. You want to check which region they are on, maybe identify the new manager, and then trigger a certification based on whatever old access they had. So what you get, check on the region, get the manager identity, ensure that the manager is there, get the roles, verify the roles exist, and then create a campaign out of it so that the new manager is going to validate that whatever the access this guy has, maybe someone is changing region or changing the departments, this guy has that. Initiate those campaigns, wait for those campaigns active to generate, then campaign is generated, activate the campaign, and done. So similarly, if like you want to have a single role campaign, the flow can be that. This is all just a template where you can choose whatever needs to be eliminated, which is redundant for your use case. Just get rid of it. In emergency termination, again, as we just mentioned, that it's supposed to be with external trigger as well as the launcher based trigger, where someone is going to proactively do it inside of ISC, or maybe a SIM team is going to trigger it externally using your external trigger. So you get the identity, get the details, if it is a non-employee or not. Based on it, you define the path, define your lifecycle state, update the lifecycle state, let it deprovision. If you want to do it sequential deprovisioning for certain sources where like you want them to have some tickets being created, some email needs to be set up, so you can do this type of operations, and then eventually down the line you are going to show it maybe on UI for the launcher based, that these are the sources I have done, and emails are being sent or being notified about that the operation has been successfully completed. Similarly, the same type of workflow for your interactive trigger, which we talked about. And then the last, we're going to go in with your workflow, which is about your ITSM requirements. So if the provisioning is completed and all those stuff, now if you have a requirement, let's say like you want to bridge the gap between your ITSM tools where you need to create a new directory account workflow, which is there in your ITSM system. You want that to be initiated, new accounts in your directory. The workflow automatically creates those corresponding ITSM tickets out there. So if triggers right after a new Active Directory account is successfully created, it gathers all the necessary information, maybe from name, department, manager, city, whatever is necessary. Then it makes a REST call to your ITSM to create those requests using whatever the application template is there. It's going to make it, and the final step, it creates a shadow account into identity now for your Snow integration, maybe the whatever the ITSM integration is there. So this creates a seamless auditable link between your identity platform and your IT operations, which is essentially important for your tracking, reporting purposes, maybe for auditing purposes as well down the stream. So now we are going into the last leg here. We'll be talking about SailPoint tools, where to govern your complex use cases with your rules and workflow combination. So in your governance template, we'll see like you want to customize your access request approval chains, maybe from workflows. You want to implement dynamic risk-based approvals, integrating your external systems to your Snow integrations, maybe how sources and everything is going to work. You want to get into with that. So with our easy template, which with the rules, we're going to take into your AD password generator with your, then we're going to have it your correlation rule, email generator one, which is your medium, easy to medium, then your medium complex, and last would be your complex AD attribute generator, which can be taking a lot of things into account and generating multiple attributes out there for you. So let's straight jump into your first rule is a most basic one, where like we have taken into the easy template. The objective is to like have a data secured, so your foundational security and data accuracy across your platform. The AD password generator ensures your new account have a unique passwords which are not shared across anyone into your IGA platform, and straight away gets notified downstream to your downstream systems. So based on whatever the requirements you have, you add those complexities, maybe steps and all the stuff, and then return the generated password based on whatever the complexity you want to keep. So, and exception handling which is being done. So this is the most simplest one, which is your AD password generator. Second is your correlation rule. So not every time something is serviceable from your UI correlation config out there. So now you want correlation rule to take precedence, take part of it, and handle this scenario. So you want to take a different aspects into account, maybe some attribute X, some attribute Y, some attribute Z. You combine all those three attributes, define something as an account attribute, based on which it will gonna go and check into your identity attribute correlating mapping and find a single unique match, because there is no single attribute on your account side which is going to give you this data. So that is how you're going to have your, we can say, as the correlation rule out there. Similarly, now with the medium, we have your template for which you want to generate an email, again based on regions. Now here you are going to take regions into account, that for maybe for Singapore, or maybe for Canada, or maybe for New Zealand, Australia, based on their domains. You want to customize, you want to assign those different domains into this email which is getting generated and all the stuff. So that is where like this email generator rule comes into the play. Now the second is where the rule is going to take into account again the similar sort of scenario, where like it's going to take your regions, it's going to take different domains into the account, but now it is also going to take into account your proxy emails, not just the standard emails out there. It's going to validate your proxy emails as well, so that the email which is getting generated is also validated across that cross-functional proxy email, so that the generated emails are pretty much unique. Now going beyond medium, we have your complex rules. With complex rule, what we have done is your AD attribute generator for one critical object, which is reliable, collision-free account creation in Active Directory. It is programmatically generating unique attributes, something like UPN, your user principal name, or your SAM account name, taking different attributes into account from your identity and generating it everything into a single flow, and then sending it downstream to your provisioning operations. So this prevents your provisioning from failing. So you define all those attributes from which you want to get it, your mailbox, whatever the different operations you want to have, your SAM account name gets generated. It's going to have a unique check. Then it's going to generate your unique email based on your configurations, based on your domains, whatever it is there. And SAM, it's going to have your UPNs generated. Everything, once it gets generated down, it's going to compile everything, throw it into your provisioning plan, and send it downstream for provisioning. So this is pretty much the context out there. It is out there, customizing those rules, transforms, and you can say your everything out there, which you can use as a template. Use this as a base to generate or customize further based on your customer's requirement. There is now literally no need to develop something from the scratch or invent the wheel when you already have it available out there with your community. You can pick it up, some fine tuning, some polishing, and pretty much fulfills your data. So that is pretty much what we wanted to present. Thank you. Thanks for the time. Thanks for joining.